Published by Punjabi University, Patiala. The child Nanak. He came like a song of heaven and began singing as he felt the touch of the breeze and saw the blue expansion of sky. He was a child of smiles, and his eyes were silent and wise. He loved quiet of soul and loved joy and thought. However, whosoever whosoever saw the child or touched him accidentally praised God. A thrill of unknown delight came to anyone who lifted the child or played with him, but none knew when came to him that gladness of soul. Everyone saw that he was the child of heaven. He was so beautiful, so mysteriously fair in color and form, with a radiance that was new to earth. He cast a spell that none could escape. Raipullar, the Muslim governor of the place of his birth, loved him both as a child and a boy. The Brahmin teacher loved him. Whosoever came in contact with him was irresistibly drawn to him. His sister Nanki saw from his very infancy in him the light of God and kept her discovery a profound secret. She was the very first inspired by heaven to be disciple. Raipullar was the second. He had seen the gleam of soul in Nanak, which is seen only once in many centuries, and even then by the rarest chance. In his old age, Raipullar cried like a child for his Saviour. Nanak, the child gave the signs of Nanak the saint and Guru at a very early age. He composed music. He talked of God and life. His untutored mind was a marvel to everyone. The boy Nanak. He ate little, slept little, and shut himself in his own thought for days and days, and no one could understand him. He was sent to the school, but he could not learn anything. Teach me, said he to his teacher, only this one large letter of life. Tell me of the Creator and the Wanderer of this great world. Thinking he might do as a trader, his father gave him a few silver coins to set him up in that way of livelihood. But no, having started out, he feasted the saints of God and returned empty handed. Then he was set to take the out to graze. He drove out the herds upon the green sward and left them free to graze by themselves as he sat alone. The solitude of the Indian noon was good for him, for then the whole creation taught him the language of the gods. He heard the songs of the shade. Every blade of grass intoned a hymn in his ears. His animals loved him, came near him, touched him, and looked at him. They knew nothing of any man's ownership of meadows that, for them, all apprehended to God. The cows could make no difference between his grass and my grass, so clamor arose, and they drove out Nanak and his cattle from the fields. He was declared a failure and as a coward, though he loved to sit alone with stars and to talk to animals when they were in distress. People anxious about his health bought a physician, for to him Nanak's unworldliness appeared insane. When the physicians put his finger on the pulse of Nanak, the boy's voice, which had been silent for days, came thrilling with a new and unsuppressed sweetness. They have called the physician to me. The poor doctor feels my pulse. What can a pulse disclose the pang in my heart? Their life is a disease, and they seek nothing else. The doctors come to cure when there is no cure for the pain of death. O physician, why touch my pulse when the pain is in my heart? Go back whence you come. None has a cure for the pang of love. A pine for my beloved, who gave the pain will cure it. O poor physician, what can a pulse disclose? You have no cure for me. When the family Brahmin came to invest him with the sacred thread, he spoke again, subduing all what he heard. O Brahmin, you have no sacred thread. If you have, give me the forgiveness of the Creator. Draw around me a sacred line that no desires dare cross. Unfold the divine in me, which then will be scared thread, never showing wear or break. Fire shall not burn it, nor the storms destroy. Blessed of God, O Brahmin, is the man such thread surrounds. That is salutation. Nanak, the strange youth. They married him believing marriage and home life would bring him back to earth, and they asked him to set out and earn a living for his wife. Nanak started to Sultanpur, where his loving sister Nanki lived. It was thought that Jai Ram's, Nanki's husband, would get him some employment. As they were setting out for Talwandi, his native place, his wife came to him and said, "Pray take me too with you." "Dear lady," said he, "I go in search of work. If I succeed, I will send for you." Jai Ram got Nanak the position of officer in charge of the storehouse of Daulat Khan Lodhi, Nawab of Sultanpur. Nanak loved to distribute the provisions. It is here that he began distributing himself also. None begged at Nanak's storehouse in vain. He lavished his goodness on every comer. It is said of him in Punjabi proverb that God gave him his stores and then forgot all about them. Key, lock, all were with Nanak. It is here that he sang his famous song of one word in Punjabi language. The word Tera means both arithmetical figure 13 and the phrases I am thine. Once Nanak, weighing out wheat flour, counted the weighings 1, 2, 3 till he reached the number 13, but at this he forgot all this counting and went on weighing and calling out Tera, 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 Tera. Nanak, the world teacher. He was lost in his flood of his own thought and wonder, a river that flowed out of him and at the same time engulfed him, so that he was looked on as one dead. That when they saw him as but the garment cast upon the shore of life, while Nanak himself was swallowed by the infinite. Truly, never did they see him again in the form in which they knew him so well. He came out and spoke as Guru Nanak, the world teacher to the away of everyone. Said he, "There is no Hindu, no Mussulman." I hear say so paralyzing that they felt bound to suppose he had now lost every particle of sense. He could no longer take an interest in his work and shortly afterwards left it altogether. He was not Nanak now, but Guru Nanak. His father come to counsel him, but without effect. Of the many conversations that he had with his parents on different occasions when he returned to his native place again and again from his travels abroad, he faithfully preserved the following few without attempting the chronological order. Father, my son, they say, you do nothing. I am ashamed of you. Why not pluck the fields if you can do nothing else? Nanak, I do something that others cannot. Understand, father. I too plough, but my plugging is different from theirs. I sow the seeds of Harinam, my heart in my fields, and my mind is my plug. And God waters my field. I pluck both day and night, and I sow my songs. Father, why not have a village shop and sit there and sell merchandise? Nanak, time and space are my shop, and I sit and deal in song. I praise him who has made all this. Father, none can understand what you say. Your speech is so difficult. Why not enter again into the government service, which is fairly easy? Nanak, I have already entered his service. I cannot serve another. I go whither he takes me, and I do as he bids me. At another time, when he met his mother, after a long interval, the following conversation took place. Mother, my son, do not go away now, but come and live in your house as of old. Son, my house is his temple, mother. God is my home, and his grace is my family. His pleasure is my utmost riches, mother. He judges me not. He is kind and merciful as none else is. He blesses and blesses without end. He provides me with everything I am for ever happy in him. Of what use is this life of house, wherein a thousand desires consume the man, and there is no rest, neither in waking nor in dreams, mother? Mother, wear clothes such as we wear, and be not so sad, so strange, and go not away from us. Son, my clothes are white and stainless, mother, for I live in love of him who has given me so much love. I am made to wear his presence and his beauty, mother. He is my food to raiment. The thought of his mother is my covering of honor. His treasure contains everything. My clothes are eternal youth. I wear the perpetual spring. Of what use are these clothes and wearing of which gives me so much trouble? And then a thousand of desires consume the men, and there is no rest in waking or in dream. Mother, oh, why do you not live like us and eat what we eat? Son, I drink his very presence, I eat at his precious substance, and partake of his life. In his glance is my heavenly sustenance. I have neither hungry nor thirst. Of what use is this bread, mother, the eating of which gives me so much trouble? And a thousand of desire consumes the man, and there is no rest, neither in waking nor in dreams. To the Hindus he said, you are not Hindus. To Mussalmans, you are not Mussalmans. To the yogis, you are not yogis. And so was it wherein he went, he not now withheld these names, but by his very presence changed those that had borne them into men. When he left the place, his eyes seemed to be still upon them, keeping their minds steadfast. A new life came to the people. In his they found their God, their world, and their lost souls. In him they began anew, and him they ended. Nanak and his sister. When he prepared to go on his long journeys into trackless lands around usually on feet, Nanki, his elder sister and his disciple, could not brook even the thought of such a long separation for him. She said, O divine one, what will be our condition then? How shall the lotus live and breathe without thee? Bibi, said the brother, this is heaven's call. I must go whither it leads my feet. Many will attain the heavenly life if you forego for a while your own yearnings. I would not be gone from you. Whenever you think of me, I will be with you. Guru Nanak did return to her frequently, interrupting his travels. Mardana, the Rabab player, joined him. The Nanak took up his royal residence under the stars. He went to Salangdeep and other isles in the south of India. He visited the Nilgiri hills. He crossed the borders of Assam in the east and the Trans-Himalayan in the north. He went to Baghdad and Bokhara, right up the Caucasian mountain. He visited Makkah, whither he came by which Baluchistan. He travelled throughout northwestern frontier of India and the Kashmir. None ever travelled so much with one single purpose, namely to thrill the earth from pole to pole with the working of his spirit. Nanak and Dhunichand. A banker named Dhunichand lived in Lahore in the times of Nanak. He flew many flags over his house, each flag representing 10 millions. One day he came to see the master. The Nanak gave to him a needle, which he said he would receive again from him in the world beyond this after death. Dhoni Chand took the needle home and told his wife of the master's strange speech and still stranger request to keep a needle for him in his books. Both went to Guru again and said, Sir, how can we carry a needle with us beyond death, when all we have shall be left behind? Of what use is all then? Said Nanak, if it will be of no use to you in regions beyond death, where you will have to pass long centuries. Pray and then tell us what we can take with us, said they. The wealth of loving him. Said the Guru, Hari Nam will go with you. How can we have that wealth? Said they, just as you have this. If the Guru is pleasant, if he give you the grain of life, if he favors you, said the Guru. Both Dhuni Chand and his wife entered the path of discipleship. Nanak and the jeweler. The master sat as usual under the tree outside a city of Gangetic plain in the eastern India. He gave Mardana a jewel and asked him to go and get it valued in the city. None could value it truly. Some offered gold for it and some merry silver. Mardana at last met a jeweler, who then he saw Guru's jewel, bought all his jewels and offered them to Mardana and said, Who can say the price of this priceless jewel? Who can buy beauty? I offer my all for the joy of its auspicious sight. It is the beginning of my luck. It is the favor of God that I have seen to it. The jeweler, Salis Rai, and his wife followed Mardana and sought the refuge of the Guru, and they were initiated into the path of discipleship. Nanak and Aminabad. There is Aminabad in Punjab. Lived in those times a carpenter who used to make pegs of wood and other implements for the village. He lived in pure poverty, as the Japanese would say. His life was simple, his needs were few, and he was happy. He was a disciple of the master, but full of natural simplicity. Nanak went straight to his house and lived with him for days. He neglected the table of the king and preferred plain bread and water at the house of this man of God. The king sent for Nanak and asked, Why do you refuse my bread and eat at the house of a low caste? Though they say you are a saint. Your bread is blood and his bread is milk, replied Guru Nanak. Nanak and the Tantric Koda. In the thick forest of India, Koda met Guru Nanak under strange circumstances. Mardana had lost his way and fallen into the hands of Koda. Mardana was just what he wanted of his man's sacrifice. Koda bound him hand and foot and began his preparation, lighting fire under a huge shuffleridon of oil. The wind blew, the rain came, and the fire went out. He tried again with the same result, and he knew not why the elements went against him. That day he looked up, and there stood Guru Nanak. He looked disconcerted Koda, who went into his cave to consult his mirror. The mirror gave him the image of a man, and he came out and asked for forgiveness. Nanak said, Koda, sing his great name. Koda entered the path of discipleship. Nanak and Sajjan Thag. Sajjan kept a Muslim mosque and a Hindu shrine side by side for the weary travels to rest in the lonely jungle pathway. There lay the bones of many of travellers that came hither to rest in the midst of the temple or the mosque. Once Nanak was the guest of Sajjan for night. Sajjan served the Guru with the utmost devotion, for he took him to be the very rich man. He saw the sparkle of million jewels on the Guru's forehead. Late at night, Sajjan as usual invited the Guru to retire to rest. Such heavenly music was uttered by the Guru when Mardana began playing the rabab that the Sajjan was overwhelmed and remorse. He was washed with music. He cried, Save me, even me, O divine one. Be pure, said the Guru, and sing his name. Nanak and Valikandari. Once Nanak was near the ancient Buddhist city of Taxila. A break mountain now called Valikandari, the prophet of Kadar, stands with its bare peak at little distance from Taxila. Towards the Peshawar side of the Grand Trunk Road by which came Alexander the Great and other invaders to India. This mountain is so called because in times of Guru Nanak there lived a Wali, a prophet, a native of Kandar and its highest summit. He had built himself a house by the side of a little spring of crystal fresh water on top of the mountains. This was the only spring of water near the place where once escaped Guru Nanak and Pai Mardana. Mardana was very thirsty. The Guru asked him to go to drink water from the fountain of Valikandari. Mardana went up, but the reception of the Wali was very indifferent. Who are you? Said he. My name is Mardana, and I am a disciple of Nanak, replied Bhai Mardana. Who brings you here? I feel thirsty and wish to have some water from your spring. There is no water here for such as you. Go back and ask your master for it. Nanak asked Mardana to go again, saying that they are simple folks of God and wanted some water for his spring. Mardana went 3 times as bidden by the Guru, but to no purpose. The last time when he came back, Guru Nanak said, Never mind, Mardana, dig here. There is a fountain of water flowing at your feet. The spring was there. It came with its cool crystal waters kissing the feet of the master. Wali Kandari too came down to see Guru Nanak. Why so naturally attracted everyone? Guru Nanak spoke to Wali Kandari saying, O friend, who live so high should not be rock like dry. Wali Kandari was enriched with the wisdom of the master and blessed with poverty. He too drank the water that flowed at the master's feet. Kamal and Bharmandas enter discipleship. Nanak was in Kashmir, living in the forest near the great lake Kamal, and a Mohammedan fakir lived nearby on milk that was wandering shepherds gave him. He was very pious and said, pining for the life of spirit. He pined for that celestial goddess which came to man only through the grace of God. He was an old man now and looked at the setting sun and the rising moon with feelings as of a beggar whom when he came to them with the bowl they had turned out of doors. Brahmandas and Kamal were friends, one an orthodox Brahmin and other Pathan with glowing eyes. Pandit Brahmdas always had 3 camels following him loaded with volume of ancient wisdom. He always carried his stone god hung by a thread around his neck. Brahmdas transferred Kamal of the strange visitor to Kashmir who wore leather and ate fish. He said, "It is strange. Many a man who has gone and tasted the nectar of this kindness is transfigured." Kamal, who had been thirsty all his life, sought the presence of Nanak, fell at his feet, and fainted with joy. As he rose, he found his own heart the light which he had sought in vain in the forest. Kamal followed the master. Nanak asked him to settle in the Kurram valley, now the tribal frontier of India. It was from there that the song of Nam spread towards the west. Kamal and the servant of the master, the soldier of his king, a temple of holy song, Mardana entered his final rest here, passing away in the great conquerors of the discipline of Kabul, Kadar, Tira, when Nanak paid his second visit to Kamal. Brahmdas wished at first to discuss his lore with the Guru and began thus: Brahmdas, where was God before creation and how were the things created? Nanak, he opens his eyes and he closes them according to his pleasure. He knows. Brahmdas, who are you and being a teacher of religion, wear leather? The discussion ended in the trance like dawn singing through every leaf of the forest of Kashmir came the Guru's heavenly voice. Blessed is the disciple that hath met the Master. He is gay as the face of earth adorned with flower and leaf. He seeth this world, the garden of beauty, in full bloom. All lakes were brimful of nectar. He is inly made divine and rich in colouring as a garment with madder dye. The mystic body of the Master has melted into the silver limbs, and the lotus of life burst in full blossom in the heart lake of the discipline. The whole world cries as the antelope caught in the hunter's trap. Fear, the pain and thirst and hunger crowd from all sides, but blessed in the discipline that hath met the Master. The Guru gave him the celestial vision. Brahmdas entered the path. He was given the authority to distribute amongst the flock of the Kashmir valley and divine riches given him by the God. Nanak and a poor man. One, a thousand of such who met him. Once Guru Nanak lived with a poor man. On leaving, he burned the poor man's hut and walls and the thatching of grass and all he had. When the Guru came again, there was a palace for him to rest upon, when singing in ecstatic elation the vision of God. Whosoever met him, the Guru burnt his poverty and his clinginess, and there to made him rich. Nanak and the leper. The leper was in his hut, and late at night the Guru called him out. It was moonlit night. "Who is it?" said the leper. The song flowed from the Guru as a soft loving light from the moon. "It is but for a night, as the birds rest on the tree. For at earliest dawn we go, no talk to me, die, a night on the roadside, a night at a day. It is but as meeting of travellers on their way. Each noisy bird of passage from its branch its bearing takes, then every bow of silent we are flown as morning breaks. How could Leaper believe that he could have a guest? He came out and saw him. The song descended on the leaper as the moonlit clothed him with affection. Nanak said, when in the song of Nam we cry aloud, all our past suffering is seen to come off our forgetfulness of the beloved. Suffering sets us on fire and makes us it were red hot and cools us again till we pass through 100 fires. Nanak gave him the song and went away. Nanak and God's house. Nanak the master was at Makkah. The master slept out of doors with his feet turned indivergently towards the Kaaba, the house of God. The chief of priests of the place came and said, O forgetful stranger, awake and see your feet are turned towards the house of God. The Guru replied, Is it so? Pray, turn my feet yourself in the direction where the house of God is not. It is there, he asked the Guru. Pray, tell us what does your God eat and wear? Music is his food, and the colors of life are his garment, replied the Guru. Nanak and the two cities. Once Nanak was the guest of the city of light, where lived good people at the time of departure, when the Guru cursed him, Be ye secretor, and may there be no city here. After the while the Guru was the guest of the city of darkness, where lived evil-minded person. Nanak, on leaving the city, blessed them. May this be your settlement for a long time to come. Nanak and the fools. Once he was at Multan. Many false hermits lived there. Many false hermits lived there, and they were all afraid of some true one coming and disillusioning the crowds that assembled and worshipped them. They thought Nanak had come to deprive them of their living. It is said they sent Nanak a bowl of milk too full of another drop, meaningly thereby was no room for him. Mardana wished the Guru to accept it, for he was thirsty and hungry after a long dusty tramp. He smiled and returned the bowl, placing a little flower of jasmine on the surface of the milk. There is room for me everywhere, said the jasmine flower. Nanak at Haridwar. Some people were throwing water towards the sun while they bathed in the Ganga. O men, what are you doing? Said the Guru. We are offering water to dead ancestors living in the sun, said they. As the Guru began throwing water in the opposite direction with both of his hands, when they asked the strange thing he was doing, he replied, I am watering my fields of wheat in the Punjab. The priest of Hardwar collected round him and said, Of what caste are you, and of what town? My caste is the same as that of wind and fire, and I am from the town when come both day and night. Nanak at Kurukshetra. During a great fair, the Guru at the Kurukshetra, he asked Mardana to go and get fire to cook his meals. The Mardana went and touched the fire of an orthodox. The orthodox cried out in rage. He fell upon Mardana, whereupon the Guru said, The evil is still in his mind, hatred resides in his heart, and yet his cooking square is pure. Of what use are these lines of square when a low caste thought still sit in with him in his mind? Nanak and Emperor Sikandar Lodhi. It was Sikandar Lodhi, when Emperor of unfortunate India, who along with others put Guru Nanak in prison where he had labour on the hand mill. He did the labor, but the music flowed from him the prison, and all came to listen, and all stood to the listen in awe and wonder. Sikandar Lodhi also came and stood listening and asked forgiveness to the master. The gates were open, and for the sake of the master, everyone was at liberty. Nanak at Jagannath. The priests of the temple began their hymn to their god. In a huge salver they put many little lamps of ghee, the pearls of the temple, and the offerings of incense, and all stood to offer it to God. There were priests that held each one feathery shrine in his hands and stood at the back of the enshrined god to fan it. The priest began the ceremony, but Guru paid no heed. After the ceremony, the priests were very angry with him. Then came Guru Nanak's voice of God, and all stood listen in dumb as cattle. Here Nanak sang his famous hymn, when the night was rich and the stars full glow, Aarti, hymn praise. The whole heaven with his myriad lights goes round the round, my beloved. The little stars are as pearls, the winds fan him. And there rises in his temple the incense from the hearts of a million flowers. The endless music of creation resounds, a million eyes hath my beloved, and yet no mortal eyes. A million lotus feet are his, and yet no mortal feet. I die with joy of the perfume of his presence. His flesh emits a million perfumes, and yet he hath no scent. He is the light of life. By the beams of his face the stars burns bright, and he is the soul of everything. My arti is my waiting for things to be as willeth him. When the Master comes and stand by, the divine light is revealed. The moon of his lotus feet draws me like a thirsty sarang whose thirst daily increases. O God, come and bend on me thy saving glance, and let me repose forever in thy holy naming thee. Nanak and Noor Shah of Assam. Guru Nanak was in Assam, in the city of Noor Shah, a woman of black magic who exercised strange powers over all that locality. She fascinated and subordinated many by her spells, compelling them to dance to her tunes. She owned the whole country around, and made a mystic and many a celibate and yogi had fallen into her snare. Mardana went into the city and get some bread for himself, and he fell a victim of the machinations of the slaves of Noor Shah. They fed him, worshipped him, but made him a lamb. They put him under their spell. He drank without water, he ate without bread. Mardana was thus imprisoned in the spell of black magic of Noor Shah, and could not return to the Guru. Guru Nanak went to search for Mardana and found a lost disciple in Noor Shah also. She came at last and renounced her magic at the feet of the Guru. All her slaves were set free. She obtained her freedom in the song of Nam. Nanak, the king of Sangladip. The master went to the city of King Shivnab. Shivnab had been pining to see the master. A disciplined Mansukh had already gone there from Guru Nanak's Punjab, and his personality had stirred the surrounding country. The whole royal family, after the king's years of sadness, entered the path by the kindness of the master. The mystic words once uttered by the master here are not fully understood by the chroniclers put them, but they are clear and most significant. Shivnab said, Sir, what do you eat? I eat of men. Shivne brought a man to him. No, I eat of the son of king, not of a poor man. The king bought his own son. The family collected together. The master would rarely eat the prince. Such was the wild thought that they had of the master. The wife of the prince had was addressed by the master. He is yours, not of the king who gives him to me. Do you agree to give him up? Yes, said the princess. With all my heart if the master wants him for his service. Nanak closed his eyes and all sat together in the sweetest rapture of Nam. All were there and remained there, but when they opened their eyes, Nanak had gone. He had eaten of the prince, who was henceforth a discipline and not a king. Nanak and Babar's invasion of India. Sung at Pai Lalo hut long before the invasion of Babar. Listen, Pai Lalo, Lalo, I say, as he says to me. The darkness of sin has spread around. Both the Mohammedan and the Hindu are masks of sin. The lie is sitting on the throne. I see the bridal procession of sin start from Kabul to engulf the country in sorrow. Lalo, there will be sung a wedding song red with blood, and human blood will fall on the hands of the new brides. He alone knows how things come, but Lalo, a great calamity would come. The heaps of flesh clothes will be torn into shreds. They will come in 78 and in the 93 they will go. When they will rise, a mard ka chela, the discipline of men, the skater of host of darkness, and strike and falls with truth, and the truth shall trump at last. Translated from Guru Granth Sahib. Nanak saw the massacre of Saidpur. Babar was marching through the Punjab and was ruthlessly destroying everything before him. He have in Guru Granth Nanak laments for his people of country, where he uttered on that occasion, Save thy people, my Lord, save them at any of thy doors. The soul of the people is on fire, send down the mercy, Lord. Come out of them from any direction, as it may be thy pleasure. Save thy people, my Lord, at any of thy numerous doors. O Master Divine, the day of Karsana is thine. Why not India? The Mughal cometh a Yama towards India, and who can blame thee? We only say it is Mughal, the Yama coming towards us. O beloved, how many of thy people have been brutally slain? Is it not all plain inflicted on thy hurt? Thou art the husband of all, thou failest of all. If power strikens power, it must be witnessed in dumb helplessness. But I do complain when the tigers and wolves are let loose as now upon the herds of sheep. O beloved, thou cannot endure the tyrant of the conqueror, and wasteth the jewels of life thus, and prideth himself on his power, seeing not his death, nor what comes after death. O Master, it is all thy strange dispensation. Thou brightest us together, and thou servest us. In thee we meet, and in thee we separate from each other. They call themselves kings, and they do as it pleasant them. But thou sayest, my Lord, thou sayest even the little insect that crawleth, and thou countest the corn, the swollen, and his little mouth. 100 blows of death come and strike, and yet the tyrant knoweth not thy will. The massacre of Saidpur. There lie rolling in dust and honored heads of beautiful women out of the place, their hair dressing still moist and perfumed wax, and the sacred vermilion mark still wet on their foreheads. The swords of Babar have clipped their heads without a thought, and their tresses lie scattered in dust. No one can say those heads are these. How strange is thy dispensation, Lord! How strange is thy visitation! These women adorn the bright halls of pleasure once, and new brides sat in their bridegrooms. And they were once swinging in swings of love, and lucky ivory bangles shook in their arms, and their feet made music as they walked. There was a day when the old mothers of the families came and drank water after having touched the heads of new brides with their golden vessels, drinking health and joy to their wedded life, and drinking all evil from off their heads, so great was the welcome given them. They ate dried grapes and nuts and dates, and their homes were resplendent with the leisure of the passion and youth. Today the same brides walk along the highways, their pearl necklaces broken, and halters round their necks, as poor man captivates led. Youth and beauty are deemed foes. The merry slaves of Babar march them forth in utter disgrace and flit. It will thy will, Lord, thou grievest and thou takest away. Thou rewards and thou chastisest as thou willest. O people, if ye had not cheated yourself in pleasure, O people, if ye had not turned your back on truth, the Babars' cohorts are rolling over the lands now, and there is no escape. The people cannot eat in peace, nor can they bath, nor offer food to their gods. No woman can sit and cook, nor any taught themselves with tilak on their foreheads. There is no leisurely life now, it is all confusion and death. They only see their ruined homes, their widowhood and orphaned life. They weep and cry and wail. Ah, what can the people do if such be his will? And who can be spread if it be not his will? The master and the cohorts of Barbar. The cohorts of Barbar had razed Saidpur to the ground, and the master says there lay in the dust the fairy heads of the beautiful women with their dressing at the morning still moist with perfume. Wax. He was scared vermilion, parting on their forehead the auspicious signs of wedded life with feeling of wounded father. He was unwilling to leave the people that the barber mad solitary had taken captivate. He too was caught by them and pressed into service. They put a heavy load in their head, and his minstrel was made of groom. The Guru called him and said, touch the strings of the Rebik Mardana, for the long comes the heaven, let go the horse fallen Mardana, and Mardana followed the Guru, and the music came as the shower of cooling rain to the thirsty people. The miserable crowd heard the celestial hymns, and everyone forget his disastrous. Babar came and listened and said, I see God in the face of this holy man. The would-be Emperor of India approached and asked if he could do anything for the Guru. I need nothing from you, said the Guru. Set at liberty if you please. These people have been wantonly oppressed. All were set at liberty forthwith. Nanak and Emperor Babar. Babar took Nanak to his tent and offered him a glass of wine. My cup is full, said Nanak. I have drunk the wine of his love. And these winged of words carried Babar away to the celestial realms. The would-be Emperor of India saw in his presence the true Emperor of pure beauty. Never did a prince or a peasant meet Guru Nanak in vain. Nanak and Mardana. Mardana was Mohammedan minstrel. He first met Guru Nanak at the time of the latter's marriage. Mardana came and asked the bridegroom for a gift. The master gave him the gift of divine song and said, "Wait till I call you." Mardana was called and he never left the presence of the bridegroom. When he died, his children took his place in the ceremonies of the Guru. To his day of offspring sing in master's song in the Sikh temples, but old love is passing into the place is not filled. Mardana is a master rebec player and a companion with all the wit and humour of the Punjabi minstrel. Mardana is blunt philosopher. O Guru, you live in heaven's breath and whispers, but we men need food and raiment. People leave these forests and let us go to the haunts of men, where we may get something to cure hunger. The daily accounts of his hunger and thirst related all his confidence of the supreme love of Guru are genuine items of prayer which a child of man can utter to his God. After all, we need no more than loaf of bread. Now and then the name of Mardana was so much on the master's lip that we cannot think of Guru Nanak apart from Mardana playing by his side with the rebab. Mardana play the rebab, the music of heaven cometh. This is the first line of almost every hymn of Guru Nanak. Under the stars, under trees, on the roadside, in the forest, and on the external snows of the highest mountains in Central Asia, the Guru sang his hymns in his discussions with the countless varieties of Indian and the Eastern mystics of fakirs, the Hindu, the Muslim, the yogi, the ascetic of the royal and the poor, in the thousand different studies of a man and nature, in a deep association of silence with life and labor and love with death. The Guru sang his soul out of Rabab of Mardana played trembling beyond itself. The Mardana is afraid. Nanak smiles and says, Mardana, have faith, keep calm, see the works of the beloved, wait and thou shalt see what God does. Nanak and his wheat farms at Kartarpur. Guru Nanak started wheat farms at Kartarpur, the town of Kartar, creator as he called. His people came and worked with him in his fields. The Guru took the delight in sowing wheat and reaping the golden harvest. He was of the people. Once again, his stores were open to them. The bread and the water were ready for all at all hours of the day. The crowds came and freely partook the Guru's gift. All comers were filled with Guru's treasures of thought and love and power. The diseased and distressed were healed by him. He was an old man then, and he loved to see the crowds of God's discipline coming from a distance Kabul and Central Asia and Assam and southern India, all the places where he had been in his younger days. In the trackless world of that time, the old father of his people travelled on foot, singing his hymns of Naam and gathering every trace of love. The Afghan and the Baluch, the Trunk and the Tartar, the Sufi and the Brahmin, the white and the dark races mingled in his great heart. The discipline, both men and women, came from all directions and took part freely in the song of the Guru. So great was the reverence of his own country for him that the Pir Bahuddins, the great Sufi teacher, who counted his followers by thousands, one morning suddenly turned his back in Kaaba, which no Muslim would do, and began bowing in his nizam in the direction of Kartarpur. "Why so?" cried his faithful follower in alarm. "This morning I see the light of God in this direction, my friends," said he. Nanak and brother Lehna. Lehna in our language means the dues to be collected, and it also happened to be the name of the great man of Punjab. Lehna was a flame worshipper. There was a flame within his soul, so he loved nothing but flame. He would go up to Kangra hills to worship flame, the flames of volcano, called the primitive villagers the goddess of Durga, that is, loin riding goddess of the Hindu pantheon of gods and goddesses. The great the flame as it came up from the volcano seemed to leap into his soul. He burned more than ever with love of divine flame. He was beautiful like a godlike and the leader of Durga worshippers in those days. He would light for himself while in the privacy of the sanctuary a little lamp of ghee and would watch a little flame of ours devotedly and then slowly raising go round in the sacrifice and suddenly begin to dance in rapture round and little flame. One day he heard the Guru Nanak. The name is fascinating to him. He was on his way to Kangra when he stopped to see the master at the town's god. Nanak asked him his name and then he replied that his name was Lana. The Guru said, "Welcome Lana, you came at least, I say you pay your Lana." After that Lehna never left Nanak. His companion worshippers of goddess went on their way, beating their cumballs and ringing their bells as usual. The flame of his little lamp and silver plate waited at him at home, and they departed with the night. Beyond all expressions was the love of each side between Lehna and Guru Nanak. The heights of Buddha attained by his almighty struggle, Lehna attained through love. Lehna entered nirvana of his life of the master. Everything else that can be thought or seen was very small for Lehna besides his love for the Guru Nanak in the divine statue of love. Chiseled his own image, he saw it into the Indolian, his transfigured self, and bowed down to it. The saffron enigmatics. Lehna was the son of a very rich man, and he used to dress in yellow silk burqa. One day he came from his native place to see the Guru. He went to the fields where the Guru was working. The Guru put a heavy load of wet grass on the head of Lehna, who then followed Guru's home, the mud dripping from the wet grass, staining the silk clothes. As they entered the house, the Guru's wife said with the great concern, "Sir, see how his fine clothes are stained with mud." Guru Nanak looked back and said, "Mud? Sayest thou not, good lady? He bears the burden of suffering humanity. They are not mud stains, these are the sacred saffron atonements. The heaven atoned him. He is a Guru." Nanak and his departure from the planet. The discipline and the saints assembled. Bright was the day and beautiful the hour of his departure. Assemble ye comrades and sing song of his praise. Anoint the bride and pour oil on his forehead and pray together the bride may meet the Lord. Guru Nanak left the earth amid the chorus of song. The search for the Master in vain, who search him on the earth. The old father of his people is not to be found neither in his grave nor in the cremation flame. He is in the heart of Guru Angad. Brother Gurdas, a disciplined Singh, heavenly heard the last prayers of the people. Guru Nanak descends on earth. The disciplines met him and drank the nectar of his lotus leaf. The Kali Yuga, this dark age, we realize the divine, all the people are the people of God. Guru Nanak makes all the caste one caste of man. The rich and the poor combine in one brotherhood. From his founder of humanity, a new race of love goes forth. Nanak bows down to his discipline. The master and the discipline are one. He is the father and his discipline. His song name is our life for ages. Nanak come to the world and lightens. Whenever the Guru goes, the golden temple of worship follows him. Whatever mound or earth he puts his foot on is our shrine. The tree he sits under is our temple. The far famed seats of Siddhas, Yogis, and Adepts change their names, and the yoga houses become as Guru houses. The temple of all the creeds seek refuge in him. Humanity resounds with his hymns, and all is divine. The Guru goes in all directions seeking his own all over the face of the earth. He makes our hearts his gardens of love and peace. The rivers flow in us singing his song. Another says that death rose out of their graves as they heard the song of Guru Nanak. He healed us all by showering on his sparks of divine fire. The wheels were lifted upon the discipline went freely in and out of the door of death in the encores of song with the immortals. Nanak, the master sowed the seed of Nam is in the heart of the men. And the fields are ripe with the golden corn, the harvest shall come, the harvest shall pass. But the seed is the God and is growing. He gave him his own voice, his own face and name and soul. He gave his own throne and in the hearts of the men called him born of my loins and made another Nanak on this earth. This is Nanak, the Master, the Spirit of God that fashions himself forever in the image of men. The harvest shall come and the harvest shall pass, but the seeds is of God is growing.